Okay, so we have finished our thumbnail sketches, which are really teeny tiny drawings with very few details in them, just designing where each object is placed in your on your surface. So if you're going to do a panoramic, make sure you draw in a long rectangle, the shape and size ratio that you need it to be. Make sure the drawings are small. These should only take you maybe 20, 30 seconds, if that, to draw out, just to kind of plan out where everything goes. And drawing out different alternate ideas for the same type of illustration. So I've got one idea drawn in four different ways, with some writing here to indicate like blue sky, faded green background, koi in the water, pink cherry blossoms right here. So some artist notes. So this is typically what your thumbnail sketches are going to look like. But I believe that I decided on this one after getting feedback that this scroll image is the one that is most attractive, I guess, to me and to other people. So now I have to create a preliminary drawing before I really get in there with detail work and shading and all of that stuff. So the next step is I have a sheet of paper that I tore out of my sketchbook. You don't have to tear it out, but I'm going to maybe create a line for how I want um, this image to look. Like this shape is what I'm going for. So if I look at the entire piece of paper, that's about the length and ratio that I want for my thumbnail blueprint. So this, that looks about right. And I'm going to want like big stepping stone here that curves this way. And so I'm just going to kind of draw it out, like not in detail, but like the plan out the work. Okay, so actually I wanted it like up here. So it's going to snake around this way. And I actually think it should be like more like this. So that's maybe the path of what I'm looking for. So just kind of get an idea of what you're going to be drawing and where. So I want cherry blossoms right about here and right about here. And then the land to be right about here, the background right about here. Okay, so that's kind of my layout for my preliminary drawing. I'm going to put that away. And what I'm going to do now is get my Chromebook with my reference images that I collected off the internet. And remember, I am using these to reference for my artwork. So what I'm going to do is, these are way too small to reference. On your Chromebook, there you should have like the ability to edit your submissions in the discussion, like three little dots over on this side. If not, try and get those images again from off your computer or off the internet. But what you want to do is you want the ability to resize them. So I'm going to start with the cherry blossoms that are in the foreground and make that much, much bigger, as big as I can get it, right there. But that's still not big enough for what I want. Or actually, it might be. That's way too big, actually. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. Let's get it smaller. There we go. That's more like it. Maybe just a little bit bigger, like almost real life size. So instead of rotating my screen, I'm just going to rotate my computer. And from here, I'm going to get my pencils out from underneath the computer. And I'm going to turn this light off so that you can see my tracing and kind of zoom in there so that you can see that better. Okay, so now I want the cherry blossoms right about here. And let me click off of this. Okay, there we go. And I think, let's see, yeah, I like them the way like they are. So I'm going to take this one and make sure I draw this flower in there because I really like that one. It's like the complete flower, but it's going to run off the edge right here. So I'm just going to draw that petal in and I'll just cut it off later. But there's that petal. And I just want the outline and the placement. I will do the details later as we are finished planning out the preliminary drawing. So there's one flower. I do want this other one in there too. So, and it's hard to see it through the paper. If the room was a little bit darker, I would be able to see it better. But right now I'm just kind of faking the funk until we get what we need, and we'll go back in later to put in the details. So here's another weird petal that's sideways. I'm not going to sketch in everything because as the artist, I'm deciding which flowers I want to go into my drawing and which flowers I don't want in my drawing. I like that one too. I don't really care about the rest of this stuff. But what I want to do with that one is I don't like it that big. I want it a little bit smaller. So I'm going to click on the image and then click and drag to make it smaller. Maybe about that size works. And then click off of it and then go back, and I want this whole flower to be in the picture. So I'm drawing it away from the border. And again, I'm just like drawing the basic shapes, and I will come back later and finish the rest. So that's what my flowers look like on the left-hand side. And I've got to do flowers on the right-hand side. So I'm going to change this up a bit. Maybe turning it this way and getting this flower right there, maybe starting from right there. And I do want to make it bigger again. I think even bigger than I had it before. Whoa, not that big. So maybe like that. Click off of it. There we go. And maybe starting right here. And sketching that in. And having that flower be a little bit distanced from the edge of the computer, or I mean of the edge of the paper. And you've got to remember which flower is which too. Because when you start piecing it together, you're going to have so many elements to focus on that you're probably not going to remember which is which. So there's one. Oops. Oh no. Let's see. Let's Control Z that. Control Z. There we go. That brings us back. Okay, so there's the one flower. And I'm actually going to draw the rest of the clusters in. And then this flower. And definitely changing the size and shape of the petals will also help. So I'm not going to try and be super duper accurate. because petals will change shape, but just kind of getting the placement where I need it to. So there's one more, and then another one right here that's turned on its side. And drawing this. So some of this stuff I don't know what it is, but I like the shapes and the use of space. And so I'm just going to include that in there. And I think the cluster will still read as cherry blossoms, so I'm fine with having abstract shapes in there. Okay, so right now, cluster of cherry blossoms on the right, clusters on the left, and now I got to work on my stone pathway. So what I'm going to do is flip it back this way, find that stone pathway, enlarge that quite a bit, as big as I can get it. And it's not very big on my Chromebook, so I'm going to click on Control Plus. Oh, let's get this and then make it even bigger. Like as big as I can get it on screen. Control Plus. Oh, that's making it smaller. There we go. Control Plus. And following the pathway that I laid out. So I'm just kind of gonna fake this first stone because it's just gonna be really big. And maybe it's like right here. So, and it doesn't really matter. I just will need to come back in later and put in the details of the stone that's right there. And maybe there's another stone that's like hidden behind this cluster of cherry blossoms, which I really don't like that, but we'll see what happens. So I need it to kind of snake across back this way up here. So what I'm gonna do is scroll down, and these stones are not set in this pathway that I have. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna borrow. I'm gonna borrow the stones, the shape of the stones, and just place them where I think they should be, where they will work for me. So I'm gonna take this one and have it bleed off the page, but then like copy that into there. And I don't want this other stone here, so I'm just gonna cut across. So here's a stone, and when I go back to shade, I'll make sure that this part here is shaded darker. And so you have the top and the side. And now I'm gonna move this stone over here. This is where artistic license comes in. That means you are the artist and you get to put together your artwork the way that you want it to be. So here, and we've got this other stone in the way, so I'm just gonna fake that bottom like that maybe. And then I'm gonna move that one over here. And it should be at about the same height, maybe just a little bit lower. I feel like I want it more flat, but you know, and you have the choice to change what these look like. So there's another one. And then next one right here, maybe. And you know, I'm just borrowing from them and they're gradually getting smaller and smaller. Where's the other one? Okay, so here we go. We're starting to get off the page now. And they're much smaller. And then this one's gonna go off the page. And then we'll revisit them right up here. So there's my stones going that way. And then I've got to, so these are getting onto land now, but that doesn't really matter to me. I'm just gonna keep them in the water. So here I'm gonna borrow this stone, make it super small on the edge. And they do have to get smaller and smaller. And then another one over here. And then it's gonna land on shore somewhere. So I'm gonna make this smaller, much, much smaller. And control minus. There we go, maybe a little bit bigger, control plus. Okay, so let's see, looking at this. So let's say the stone pathway goes out this way and back. And then this is where I'm going to start drawing in the land. So this giant bush, I really like that, and I'm going to keep that in there. And then the ledge of these stones as they creep to the edge of the pond. But then I'm going to cut this hill down a little bit right here and maybe have this be like a little grassy lawn. And from here, I'm going to copy this little walkway. And then I want that tree right here. So I don't have a tree up here, the rest of the tree, so I'm gonna have to Google that and find a tree that fits this scene and like has petals and branches that come out this way. So I'm just gonna fake that right now until I find that tree. And just remember that your drawing is only going to be as good as your references. So make sure you get good reference images. Okay, and these need to extend this way. So I'm just going to like make it super simple, make it go straight across, and then have like other little bushes or something right here. At this point, like that's so far off in the distance that the detail work on there is going to be very minimal. So here I've got open sky and then rolling hills. Maybe put some trees in there. I don't know. Definitely I'm going to add these background trees. So the next thing I'm going to have to put in there is my pagoda, and I don't want to keep it here behind the tree. Maybe in this open space I'll put the pagoda right here. But let's take a look at it and see what your drawing looks like. So I'm going to take this out of the way, make this bigger. So now here's my preliminary drawing with the large stone walkway right here with the cherry blossoms just kind of hovering over on the edges, and then my stone pathway. I think I'm going to have to shrink it down a little bit right here and probably stick another one right here. And then it kind of snakes back into the background. So drastically going from much, much bigger in the foreground to middle size and then tiny in the background. And I'll go back in and add the koi fish and all of that later. But definitely this is how you get your preliminary drawing sketched out so that you can start doing the detail work and texture and color and whatever else that you're adding to it. All right. Happy preliminary drawing.